Today I am going to be analyzing exactly what makes Martin the best solo player in the entire world right now. If you guys do not know, MrSavage recently won the EU Solo Cash Cup by a whopping 20 points over second place. Be sure to use code SONATAYT in the Fortnite item shop if you guys do want to support me. And also stick around till the end of the video so that you guys can properly obtain and understand how Savage plays at such a high level. So first I'm going to be going over MrSavage's drop spot during this Cash Cup. So Savage dropped at Lazy for the entirety of this event. As you guys know, the new season has brought us the brand new crafting system where you need mechanical parts and bones to upgrade to various primal and mechanical weapons. Lazy Lake right now is one of the best, less contested drops on the entire map. With the addition of the Spire, Bony Burbs, and Colossal Crops, Lazy Lake has been getting more and more uncontested every single season. This is arguably one of the best places to obtain mechanical parts in order to upgrade. Most people are going to want to use a spaz in this tournament, so I would highly recommend you guys try and drop here in order to get mechanical parts and various other crafting materials. This drop spot also has plenty of materials, as you guys know, and it also can have 32 chests, which is a whopping amount of loot that you guys will not be able to sustain all on your own. However, it is likely that you guys are going to be contested by up to 4 people, so I would highly recommend that you guys try to get good at fighting and properly understand how to fight in Lazy. There can also be noms boxes and slurp barrels for you guys to properly met up. However, the most important part of this is the cars for the mid-game rotates. Mid-game rotates are most important this season simply because of the way that the zone pulse in the terrain is. So it's important that you guys properly map out the way that you're going to rotate. However, once again, Savage's win rate comes off of this amazing drop spot. He always walks out of this place with a harpoon gun, perfect loot, a bunch of shield, and max materials. So if any of you guys out there are good fighters and you guys are in the need of a good solo drop spot, I would highly recommend you guys copy MrSavage and study his gameplay while dropping Lazy Lake. So now here we are, we're going to be doing a small VOD review of one section of MrSavage's endgame, and as you guys can see, he is in an endgame with 40 people in the first moving zone, and the zone is in Caddy Corner. So what I'm mainly going to be highlighting here is MrSavage's use of his harpoon gun. As you guys can see, these are all of his, utility items and weapons right now, and as you guys can see, he does have a harpoon gun with 9 uses, and he uses that in a very specific way that helps him win the game, which is one thing that I'm going to be highlighting. Alright, so hopping right into it, as you guys can see, he's tarping very, efficiently through the endgame zones, and as you guys can see, he has to reload his pump shotgun, obviously, and properly work on that reload management, as you guys know. I also would like to highlight his pathing here. As you guys can see, he's going this way. Obviously, he went hugged full right side onto these, sort of dead side of zone. As you guys can see, he does get the zone. He was over at this marker, and then he's trying to get over to this little area, as you guys can see in the top right corner. But right here, he's trying to keep his pathing onto the right side, which is just ideally better if you guys want to try to, get into a position where you won't really die. And obviously, he does have a bunch of mats because he did just get a refresh, and from which he also got the harpoon, as you guys know. So right here, I would like to highlight MrSavage's different use of materials. As you guys can see right there, he started tarping with the stair tarp in brick, and then he started tarping in metal after that. However, he does still have 150 brick, but the reason that he did that is to ration his materials. As you guys know, materials, especially hard mats, are very important during endgame, and the reason that he's trying to do full tarping here is because it is first moving, and he's closer to second high ground. What he's going to want to try to do here is he's going to want to try to drop down and get to the lower layers and try to play out that way, because he doesn't want to be second height so he doesn't get focused. And as you guys know, switching mats is very good once again for rationing your materials. You guys want to try to have the most hard mats when it comes to those final zones, which is what he's doing here. So he obviously drops down here and looks for a sort of refresh, and as you guys can see, he's trying to get into somebody's box and does eventually get a refresh, and he's trying to put that harpoon gun to good work. He's looking for the spaz that player had, and as you guys can see, what he's going to be doing here, he goes down and he looks for the harpoon on the loot. So what I'm going to basically explain to you guys, as you guys know, you don't really need to harpoon that loot. Obviously, MrSavage could have dropped down on it, but I'm going to actually put this into a little bit of slow motion, and then obviously, turn down the speed. But as you guys can see right here, what Savage is going to do is he's going to edit down here. And the reason that he doesn't want to go for this loot specifically, I'll turn it back to 1x speed now. The reason that he doesn't want to go for this loot specifically is because if he drops down to go get that loot, he's prone to getting boxed by the kid below him. If somebody's in this cone, he might be dead. If somebody's behind this wall, he might be dead. Even if somebody's looking through the wall that's over here, he might be dead. So ideally, just because he has 9 harpoon shots, it's better if he harpoons this loot, especially the floppers for the end game heal off, and also the spaz because he only has a blue pump right now. And obviously, you guys are probably wondering why he didn't get the rockets. He eventually does get them, and he just, it's all the chaos during endgame just prevented him from getting those. But his use of the harpoon gun here is crucial to him winning this game. And if he didn't have that spaz, there's no way he would have won along with the flopper. So I would actually like to highlight what MrSavage just did. He actually just hopped off the high ground. So I'm going to put this into very, very slow motion and turn down the volume. As you guys can see, what Savage does here is he full gets out of his box. He starts tarping, as you guys can see, in a normal stair tarp fashion. I'm going to actually highlight that really quickly. As you guys can see, the stair tarp fashion is very easy. He basically just does this sort of thing right here, where his character is right here running forward when there's the enemies behind him. And as you guys can see, if this was the high ground, it's a bit harder for the high ground to spray that to spray Savage in this situation, simply because he's covered by a ramp and it's difficult to see people during this tarp. It's also very map conservative, rather than doing a full box tarp where there's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 build pieces that you guys will need to place. That's going to use about 40 mats per box, and that's pretty difficult to, ration your materials with. And especially for solos, I would highly recommend you guys do this sort of tarp. So I'm going to continue it back on the 1x speed, and I'm going to also turn up the volume here. And as you guys can see, he does drop right there. That's a fantastic drop. I'm going to highlight why he did that exactly. So as you guys know, height, he didn't look up specifically. However, high ground is right above him for the most part. And right here, they are very prone to spraying him. And the reason he wants to drop is to just get a better chance of not being sprayed by high ground. If you guys are getting focused by high ground, you have to not only deal with the people on your layer, not only deal with high ground, but also the people below you, which is a big factor in how much you survive. So obviously when he drops right here, I'm going to slow this down for a second because I want to highlight a kill that Savage got. I'm going to slow it down for 1 second and just show what happens here. He goes for the full box on this player and he harpoons this floor. So the good thing about the harpoon gun is that it does give you an advantage for potentially getting refreshes. It also makes it very easy if you guys want to try to trap people in one of your boxes to, do that sort of thing. And what he does is he obviously harpoons this and the player does fall into his box and he does get the 32 tag on him, cones him off, and then obviously does get the kill eventually onto Flames Eric, which is actually a professional, a very good player. So he obviously gets the materials and loot and ammo refresh that he kind of needs, and he's trying to get to these higher layers now that he's more stacked and try to look for an opportunity to take height. The reason that Savage is so good at this sort of stuff in solos is because of his experience in team game modes. He knows how to lead a team, and one of the best things is to lead you yourself as a solo like you're leading a team. You should be performing as your sort of your own team, which is what Savage is trying to do here. That's why players like Tayson and Andalex perform well in solos most of the time. So obviously what Savage is doing there is he's looking for the high ground, and he harpoons down another player once again, and then obviously does try to get the elimination on this player. And he eventually does get it with the harpoon gun again, which is one very useful application of that weapon. And right here, since Savage has a bunch of mats, he's trying to use, this sort of cover again. As you guys can see here, what Savage is trying to do is he's trying to play very conservative and look for some refreshes during this endgame zone. And he's also trying to not get focused by the high ground. That's why he's on some mid-ground layers. And he's also trying to focus on his pathing towards zone. He obviously only has 300 mats, which is pretty good compared to the rest of the players in this lobby. However, he really wants to focus on getting that win, which is what's going to, secure him with those high points for him to win the Cash Cup. So he obviously finds a nice elimination onto Scully, who is another pro player, and he's just trying to focus on zone now. Even though he's deep in zone, he doesn't panic. He obviously has floppers and minis and whatnot, and he's also using another player's tarp for some cover, and he's also trying to look for the high ground and potentially a harpoon play onto the high ground, which would be very beneficial for him here. He goes for the harpoon on the materials, and he obviously does end up harpooning a different player right there, which is very, very good, because he also got the damage off, and he also potentially can go for the kill, which would limit, the other player's options in this situation. He also uses the harpoon for materials, obviously, which is, I'd argue, the best application of it. It's the best way to, get refreshes without actually getting an elimination. So I would highly recommend, if you guys do find a harpoon on the ground, please pick it up, because MrSavage shows exactly why it is so useful in a competitive solo endgame, and just a game in general. So obviously Savage goes up for the elimination here. He obviously gets the high ground and knows that he has the one flopper that can potentially benefit him in his heal off, capabilities. And as you guys know, MrSavage does end up winning this Cash Cup. This is actually Tayson that he's fighting right now, and he pops the flopper and he eventually gets the, the win right here. And, honestly, that was one of the most competitive and properly played endgames that I've seen. His utilization of the harpoon gun is amazing. His pathing is incredible. And his, mat conservativity, I don't know if that's a word, but his conservation of materials is quite good. So I would highly recommend you guys go ahead and VOD review this for yourself. And this is from his solo Cash Cup video if you guys are curious. Alright everyone, that is the video on why MrSavage is the best solo player in the entire world right now. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to comment letting me know if you guys did enjoy this video so that I can make more types of this content. But that's about it for this video guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.